My boat exploded on Lake Tahoe at 7:15 on a Tuesday morning. I woke up 28 hours later in a hospital bed, skin burning, arm shattered, alone. My daughter Megan visited once, 45 minutes. Most of it spent filming herself crying for TikTok. What she didn't realize was that the lake house she was already trying to sell, the one I spent 30 years building with my own two hands, had been recording everything. Every visitor. Every lie. Every betrayal. But I need to go back to the beginning. Back to the water. Back to the morning. Everything changed. The lake was glass that morning. Perfectly still. The kind of still that only happens in early autumn, before the wind remembers it has a job to do. I untied my boat from the dock at 6:45. The same way I had every Tuesday and Thursday since Carol died. 2.5 years of mornings on the water. 2.5 years of trying to fill the silence she left behind. Carol used to sit in the passenger seat with her thermos of green tea, pointing out the osprey nests along the eastern shore. She knew every bird, every tree, every rock formation. 30 years we lived on that lake. 30 years she made it feel like home. When she died, the house got quiet. The lake got quiet. Everything got quiet, in ways I did not know silence could sound. So I took the boat out. Not to fish, not to go anywhere. Just to move. Just to feel the engine humming beneath me and the cold morning air on my face and pretend, for an hour or two, that the emptiness had edges I could navigate around. That Tuesday, October 8th, the air was cold enough to see my breath. I pulled my jacket tighter and eased the throttle forward, guiding the boat past the no-wake buoys and into open water. The Sierra Nevada mountains rose on every side, their peaks just catching the first gold of sunrise. I remember thinking how beautiful it was, how Carol would have reached for my hand. I was about a quarter mile from shore when I decided to open her up. The engine was a 30-year-old Mercury outboard. I had rebuilt it twice myself, knew every bolt and gasket like I knew the bones in my own hands. I am a builder. That is what I do. I build things, and I fix things, and I understand how machines work, how wood joins, how structures hold weight. It is not just my profession. It is how I see the world. I pushed the throttle to 3/4 speed. The bow lifted. The wind cut across my face. For a moment, just a moment, I felt something close to peace. Then the world ended. The explosion came from below and behind, a sound so massive it erased all other sound. A wall of heat slammed into my back like a fist made of fire. I felt myself lifted, weightless. The steering wheel ripped from my hands. The sky and the water switched places. I saw orange. I saw black. I saw the surface of the lake rushing up to meet me. I hit the water wrong. My left arm folded beneath me at an angle arms are not meant to fold. Pain shot from wrist to shoulder, white-hot and absolute. The cold of Lake Tahoe in October seized my chest like a vice. I gasped, inhaled water, choked. Burning debris rained down around me. A chunk of fiberglass hull splashed 3 feet from my head. The remains of my boat were a floating bonfire 30 yards away, black smoke pouring into the pristine morning sky. The smell of burning fuel coated everything. My skin, my lungs, the water itself. I tried to swim. My left arm would not respond. The burns on my back screamed with every movement. My jacket, heavy with water, dragged me down. I kicked, fought, managed to keep my face above the surface, but the cold was pulling at me, patient and relentless. My legs were going numb. This is how I die, I thought. Alone on a lake that used to mean everything to me. Carol, I am coming. I do not know how long I struggled. It felt like hours. It was probably minutes. The cold was winning, pulling me under inch by inch, and some part of me was ready to let it. Some part of me was tired of fighting, tired of mornings alone, tired of a house full of memories, and no one to share them with. Then I heard it. A voice, distant at first, then closer, cutting through the fog. Over here. There is someone in the water. Get the boat closer. Hurry. Hands grabbed me. Strong hands, pulling me from the lake like hauling a waterlogged timber from a river. I coughed water, tried to speak, managed only a groan. Pain everywhere, cold everywhere. A face above me, weathered and panicked. A stranger. Stay with me, buddy. You are going to be okay. I got you. I got you. Bobby Whitfield. 58 years old. Retired electrician from Incline Village. He had been fishing with his brother-in-law 100 yards away when my boat became a fireball. He did not hesitate. Did not calculate risk. Just turned his boat and came. I would learn all of this later. In that moment, he was simply the man who refused to let me drown. The pain was fading now, replaced by something worse. A heavy numbness spreading from my legs upward. My vision narrowed to a tunnel. Bobby's face shrank to a small point of light. I heard sirens somewhere. Impossibly far away. I heard Bobby talking, his voice urgent but steady. Stay with me. Do not close your eyes. Help is coming. Stay with me. But I could not stay. The darkness was warm. Warmer than the lake. Warmer than the fire. It wrapped around me like a blanket. Like Carol's arms in bed on winter mornings. I let go, not because I wanted to die, because my body had made the decision for me. The last thing I saw before consciousness left was the smoke rising from my boat against the blue October sky. 30 years I had maintained that engine. I knew every part of it. Engines do not just explode. Not like that. Not unless someone wants them to. The thought flickered and died, buried beneath the weight of unconsciousness. But it planted a seed. A seed that would grow into something terrible. Something I was not yet ready to face. Somewhere in the darkness, I heard Carol's voice. Soft. Clear. The way she sounded on Sunday mornings. Be careful, Frank. Please be careful. Then, nothing. The beeping came first. Steady. Mechanical. A sound that belonged to no world I wanted to wake up in. Then the smell. Antiseptic. Bleach. The particular sterile coldness of air that has been filtered too many times. I tried to open my eyes. My eyelids felt like they had been glued shut with concrete. When I finally forced them apart, white ceiling tiles stared back at me. Fluorescent lights hummed above. Too bright. Too harsh. I blinked. Tried to move. My left arm was encased in a cast from fingers to elbow. My back felt like someone had pressed a hot iron across it and left it there. Every breath sent a dull ache through my ribs. A face appeared above me. A woman in blue scrubs, dark hair pulled into a neat bun. Her badge read, Diana Solis, registered nurse. Mr. Donovan. Can you hear me? You are at Renown Regional Medical Center in Reno. You have been here since yesterday morning. I tried to speak. My throat was sand. She lifted a cup of water to my lips. Cold. Clean. I swallowed, and the world sharpened slightly. How long? My voice came out as a cracked whisper. 28 hours. She set the cup down gently. You were brought in by helicopter from Lake Tahoe. You have second-degree burns on your back and shoulders, a fractured left ulna, 2 cracked ribs, and a moderate concussion. Considering what happened, you are remarkably lucky. Lucky. The words sat wrong in my mouth. I remembered fire, water, cold, pulling me down. Bobby's hands, dragging me out. The man who saved me, I said. Bobby, Mr. Whitfield. He came by yesterday afternoon. Left his number. Wanted to make sure you were all right. She smiled. Good man. And my daughter. Has Megan been here? Something shifted in Nurse Solis's expression. Subtle, but unmistakable. A flicker of something she was trying to keep professional. She came once. Yesterday evening. Stayed about 45 minutes. 45 minutes. Out of 28 hours unconscious, my only child had given me 45 minutes. Is she coming back today? I am not sure, Mr. Donovan. She did not say. Nurse Solis checked my vitals, adjusted the IV drip, made notes on her tablet. Professional. Efficient. But I could see her hesitating at the door. She turned back, lowering her voice. Mr. Donovan, I probably should not say this, but your daughter, when she was here, she spent most of the visit on her phone, recording videos of herself, crying, talking about your condition. That does not sound unusual, I said. She was probably updating family. Nurse Solis shook her head slightly. It was more than that. She recorded 4 separate videos. Each time she would cry, talk to the camera about how scared she was, how you might not make it. But between recordings, she would stop crying completely, fix her makeup, check the angle, then start again. She paused. I have seen worried family members. I have seen grief. That was not grief. That was a performance. The words landed heavy in the silence between us. I did not know what to say. Did not want to believe what she was implying. After Nurse Solis left, I lay still for a long time, staring at the ceiling, trying to reconcile the woman she described with the daughter I raised. Megan, my only child. Carol's girl. The kid who helped me sand the deck boards when she was 12. The teenager who cried for 3 days when our old lab biscuit had to be put down. Maybe Nurse Solis misread it. People handle fear differently. Maybe Megan was just trying to keep family informed and fell apart between takes. Maybe I was making too much of a stranger's observation. My phone. I needed my phone. I found it in the bedside drawer. Cracked screen, but functional. It must have been in my jacket pocket, pulled from the lake with me. I unlocked it with my right thumb, the only hand I could use. Notifications flooded the screen. Texts from Bobby, from Pete Navarro, from neighbors, from numbers I did not recognize. But one notification pulled my attention, like gravity. Megan Pratt has tagged you in a video. I opened it. TikTok. My daughter's face filled the screen, tear-streaked, hair messy, voice trembling with practiced fragility. I do not know how to say this. My father was in a terrible accident yesterday. His boat exploded on Lake Tahoe. He is in critical condition. The doctors are not sure he is going to make it. She wiped her eyes, sniffled, looked directly into the camera, with those wide brown eyes Carol gave her. But that is not even the worst part. My father has been showing signs of memory loss for months. Confusion, forgetting where he is. And now with these medical bills, he might lose his home, the lake house he built. Our family home. I am terrified. Her voice broke beautifully, convincingly. If anyone can help, even just sharing this, please. I have set up a fund to help cover his medical care and protect his home. He does not deserve this. He is the best father anyone could ask for. The screen shifted to a fundraising page. Help Frank Donovan save his lake house. Goal: $200,000. Already raised: $147,147,000. From strangers who believed my daughter's tears. For medical bills that did not exist, because I had full insurance. For a home that was not in danger because I owned it outright. I looked at the view count. 120,000 views. 3,800 comments. 7,000 shares. People calling me a hero. People praying for my recovery. People donating their grocery money because a pretty girl cried on camera and told them I was dying. I was not dying. I was bruised, burned, broken in places. But I was not dying. The doctors had said remarkably lucky. Full recovery expected. My daughter had told 120,000 people I might not survive. I scrolled down the comments. So heartbreaking. Sending prayers. Donated $50. Wish I could do more. Someone call Adult Protective Services. He should not be living alone with dementia. Dementia. I did not have dementia. I had never shown a single sign of memory loss. I was 67 years old, with a sharp mind and a sharper memory. I could recite every measurement of every room in my lake house from memory. I could tell you the exact date I installed each window, each door, each floorboard. My daughter was telling the world I was losing my mind. I watched the video again, then a second time, then a third, not listening to her words anymore, looking at the background. She had filmed it at my house. I recognized the warm oak paneling of the living room behind her. The window looking out to the lake, my house. She had been in my house while I lay unconscious in this hospital bed. On the fourth viewing, I saw it. Just a flash. 2 seconds, maybe less. Megan shifted in her seat, and the camera caught the hallway mirror behind her. In that mirror, a reflection. A man in a gray suit, holding a clipboard and a measuring tape, looking up at the ceiling the way someone does when they are calculating square footage. I froze the frame, zoomed in with trembling fingers. The image was blurry, but clear enough. A realtor. In my home. While my daughter filmed herself crying about saving it, my hand gripped the phone so tight the cracked screen bit into my palm. I did not feel it. I could not feel anything, except the cold understanding settling into my chest, like lake water filling my lungs all over again. She was not trying to save my house. She was selling it. And she needed the world to believe I was too broken to stop her. I did not sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that mirror, the man in the gray suit, the clipboard, my daughter's tears drying the instant the camera stopped while a stranger measured the value of my home. At 6 a.m, I called Pete Navarro. He answered on the second ring, voice rough with sleep, but immediately alert when he heard mine. Frank, I heard about the accident. Are you all right? Pete had been my attorney for 25 years. More than that, he had been my friend. Carol and his wife Maria used to have dinner together every other Friday. After Carol died, Pete still called every week. Not to discuss legal matters, just to check on me. Pete, I need your help. Something is very wrong. I told him everything. The TikTok video. The fundraiser for medical bills I did not owe. The dementia claims. And the realtor in my hallway mirror. Pete listened, without interrupting. When he spoke, the warmth was gone from his voice, replaced by something sharper. Do not call Megan. Do not confront her. Do not post anything online. Give me 2 hours. Those 2 hours were the longest of my life. I lay in that hospital bed trying to convince myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe the GoFundMe was a panicked mistake. Maybe the realtor was just an insurance assessment. Maybe I was a paranoid old man seeing conspiracy where there was only confusion. My phone rang at 8:17. Frank. Pete's voice was tight. Controlled. I need you to stay calm. Just tell me. I ran a title search on your property. The deed was modified 9 days ago. A second name has been added. Chase Pratt. The room tilted. My son-in-law. The man who showed up 5 years ago with a charming smile and a crypto portfolio that never produced actual money. I never signed anything, Pete. I never authorized that. I know. The modification was filed with a notarized power of attorney. Your signature is on it. But Frank, I have seen your real signature on 100 documents. This is a forgery. Dated October 6th, 2 days before your accident. My hand gripped the phone until the cracked screen bit into my palm. There is more. Your lake house is active on Zillow right now. Listed at 2.8 million. It went live October 10th, 2 days after your accident. While you were unconscious, Chase is named as co-owner and authorized seller. 2.8 million. The house Carol and I built board by board over 30 years. The house where I proposed to her on the unfinished deck, with sawdust in my hair. They were selling it while I lay fighting to breathe. The dementia claims on TikTok suddenly made perfect sense. It was not random cruelty. It was strategy. Build a narrative that I was mentally incompetent, so no one would question why Chase was handling the sale. So no one would believe me when I tried to stop it. Pete, I said slowly, is there anything else? A longer pause. I heard him exhale through his teeth. Frank, 8 months ago, a life insurance policy was taken out on you. $1.2 million. Beneficiary is Megan. Policyholder is Chase. Your broker, Harold Chen, confirmed it. The application has your signature, but it will match the same forgery on the title. $1.2 million in life insurance. $2.8 million for the house. $147,000 from the GoFundMe and climbing. My daughter and her husband had calculated my net worth down to the penny, and they had decided I was worth more dead. Pete. The boat. I know what you are thinking. I built that engine. I maintained it for 30 years. I know every seal, every gasket, every fuel line. Engines do not detonate like that, unless someone makes them. Frank. Chase worked at Tahoe Marina for 3 years before he quit for crypto. He was a marine mechanic. He knows boat engines the way I know load-bearing walls. He knows exactly how to make one fail. Silence on the line. If what you are suggesting is true, Pete said carefully, this is not just fraud. This is attempted murder. I stared at the wall. A generic painting of mountains and a lake. Peaceful. False. Nothing like the reality I was drowning in. My daughter. My only child. The girl Carol and I raised in that house by that lake. She had let her husband try to kill me. Maybe helped him plan it. 8 months of forged signatures. Insurance policies. Exit strategies. None of that happens by accident. None of that happens without both of them sitting down and deciding I needed to die. Pete was making plans. Freeze accounts. Contact authorities. Gather evidence before they realize I am aware. His words washed over me. But I was somewhere else. Standing in my kitchen 12 years ago, watching Megan help Carol frost a birthday cake, flour on her nose. Laughing. My girls. My whole world. In one room. That girl was gone. Maybe she had been gone for years. Frank. Pete pulled me back. What do you want to do? I want to go home. I want to see my house. And I want to find out exactly what they did to my boat. Then we do this carefully. One step at a time. I hung up and lay back against the pillows. The ceiling stared down. Blank. Indifferent. Carol's voice came back to me. Something she said years ago while we were framing the second floor of the lakehouse. I wanted cameras everywhere. She said I was being paranoid. You are paranoid, Frank. I am careful, Carol. There is a difference. She had rolled her eyes and kissed my forehead and let me wire the house however I wanted. 32 cameras. Motion sensors on every door. Cloud backup every 60 seconds to a server only I knew existed. Carol. I whispered to the empty room. Thank you for letting me be paranoid. Bobby Whitfield did not ask many questions. That is what I liked about him from the start. When I called him at 5:30 the next morning and said, I need to leave this hospital and I need your help, he said only one thing. I will be there in 40 minutes. He arrived in 32. A tall man with sun-weathered skin and hands that looked like they had spent decades wrestling copper wire into walls, which they had. 30 years as an electrician in Incline Village before retirement, the kind of man who fixes problems instead of discussing them. You look terrible, he said, helping me into a wheelchair I did not want to admit I needed. Feel worse than I look. He wheeled me through the service corridor, past the loading dock, into the cold October morning. His truck was parked by the dumpsters. A battered Ford with fishing rods rattling in the bed. He helped me into the passenger seat. Careful of my cast. Careful of my burns. Gentle for a man his size. Where to? He asked. The salvage yard. Incline Village. My boat was towed there after the Coast Guard pulled it from the lake. Bobby glanced at me. You sure you are up for that? I have to see it, Bobby. I have to know. He did not press further. Just put the truck in gear and drove. The highway curved along the lake's western shore, the water impossibly blue in the morning light. Somewhere out there, a quarter-mile from my dock, my boat had become a fireball 3 days ago. The thought made my skin tighten beneath the bandages. We rode in silence for 20 minutes before Bobby spoke. Frank, what are you expecting to find? I turned from the window. The truth. The salvage yard sat at the end of a gravel road behind a chain-link fence. Boats in various states of disrepair lined the lot like a graveyard. Bobby spoke to the manager, explained the situation. 5 minutes later, we stood in front of what remained of my boat. It was worse than I imagined. The stern was gone entirely, blown outward in a pattern I recognized immediately. Shrapnel damage. The hull was split along the keel, charred, black and peeling. The bow remained mostly intact, tilted at a sickening angle on the trailer blocks. The smell of burned fiberglass and fuel still clung to it like a ghost. Bobby stood back, arms crossed. I moved closer. My ribs protested every step, but I ignored them. I needed to see the engine, or what was left of it. The mercury outboard was shredded. Cowling gone. Block cracked open like an egg. But the mounting bracket remained, and below it, the fuel system components that had not been vaporized in the blast. I crouched down, ignoring the pain screaming through my back, and looked at the fuel line. What I saw made my blood go cold. The rubber fuel line connecting the tank to the engine had been cut. Not torn. Not worn through from age or friction. Cut. A clean, straight incision through the rubber at a 45-degree angle, the kind of cut made by a razor blade or a sharp utility knife. I had replaced enough fuel lines in my life to know what wear looks like. This was not wear. This was surgery. I moved my fingers along the engine housing to the exhaust ventilation port. On a healthy engine, this port allows combustion gases to escape, preventing pressure buildup. On my engine, the port was sealed. Something hard and smooth filled the opening. I scraped at it with my thumbnail. Gray. Rigid. Familiar. Epoxy. Marine-grade epoxy. Someone had filled my exhaust ventilation with epoxy, sealing it completely, which meant combustion gases had nowhere to go. Pressure built with every revolution of the engine. The cut fuel line leaked gasoline vapor into an enclosed space filling with heat and pressure. It was a bomb. A simple, elegant, nearly undetectable bomb built from a boat engine by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. I stood up slowly. My hands were shaking. Not from cold. Bobby stepped forward. His face had gone pale beneath his tan. Frank, what is it? The fuel line was cut. Clean cut. Razor or utility knife. And the exhaust vent was sealed with marine epoxy. I looked at him. This engine was turned into a pressure bomb. It was designed to run normally at low speed but explode under load. The moment I opened the throttle past half, the pressure exceeded the containment threshold, and the whole thing detonated. Bobby stared at the wreckage, then back at me. His jaw worked silently for a moment. Someone tried to kill you. Yes. Who would know how to do this? Who would have access to your boat? The boat sat at my private dock. Anyone with a key to my property could reach it. And as for who would know how to rig a marine engine to explode, I looked Bobby in the eye. My son-in-law worked as a marine mechanic at Tahoe Marina for 3 years. He serviced engines exactly like this one. He knows the fuel systems, the ventilation, the pressure tolerances. He knows exactly how much epoxy it would take, and exactly where to cut. Bobby was quiet for a long moment. Wind blew across the salvage yard, carrying the smell of rust and old oil. What are you going to do, Frank? I looked at my destroyed boat one last time. The boat Carol and I had taken across the lake 1,000 times. The boat where I had scattered some of her ashes at sunset, a year after she died. Now it was evidence. I am going home, I said. And I am going to let my house do the talking. Bobby frowned. What does that mean? When Carol and I built that lake house, I did not just install walls and windows. I installed a security system. 32 cameras. Motion sensors on every door and window. Night vision. Audio capability on 12 of them. Cloud backup every 60 seconds to a remote server in Reno that nobody knows about. Not Megan. Not Chase. Not anyone. Bobby blinked. 32 cameras. I am a builder, Bobby. I build things to last. And I wire them to remember everything. If Megan and Chase had been inside my house while I was unconscious, if they brought realtors and investors through my doors, if they searched my office and tried my safe and photographed my documents, then my house already knew. Every step, every conversation, every lie. They thought they were robbing a broken old man too confused to fight back. They did not know they were robbing a man who had wired his own fortress. Bobby nodded slowly. A small smile crossed his weathered face. Carol let you put in 32 cameras. I smiled back. The first real smile since the explosion. She said I was paranoid. I told her I was careful. Turns out, there is a very important difference. The lake house looked the same. That was the cruelest part. 3 stories of hand-cut cedar and Douglas fir rising from the granite shoreline like it had grown there naturally. The deck wrapping around the second floor, every board placed by my hands. The stone chimney Carol and I had built together one summer, arguing over mortar thickness until we were both laughing too hard to work. Everything exactly as I left it. Beautiful, warm, untouched from the outside, but I knew better now. The inside had been violated. Strangers had walked my halls. My daughter had rifled through my papers. My home had been measured and priced and prepared for sale like a piece of inventory. Bobby helped me up the front steps. My ribs ached with each one. The key turned in the lock. And for a moment I stood in the doorway, breathing in the smell of cedar and old books, and the faint ghost of Carol's lavender perfume that still clung to the curtains after all this time. Home, Bobby said quietly behind me. Used to be. I moved to my office on the second floor. The room Carol had insisted I needed for paperwork and planning. The room where I kept the security system control panel hidden inside what looked like an ordinary bookshelf speaker. I pressed the false panel, typed my access code, and the tablet screen came to life. 32 camera feeds in a grid. Every angle of my home in crisp high definition. Living room, kitchen, hallway, office, workshop, deck, dock, driveway, all recording, all backed up to the cloud server in Reno every 60 seconds, just as they had been for the past 7 years. I navigated to the stored footage. October 9th, the day after my accident, the day I lay unconscious in a hospital bed, while my daughter told the world I was dying. The timestamp read 2:14 in the afternoon. The front door opened. Chase Pratt walked in first, confident, unhesitating, like a man entering his own property. Behind him, 2 people I had never seen, a woman in a blazer carrying a leather portfolio, a man in a gray suit with a clipboard and measuring tape, the same man I had spotted in Megan's mirror. I watched Chase lead them through my home like a tour guide. He gestured at the vaulted ceilings, pointed out the hand-carved banisters, opened closets, ran his hand along the granite countertops Carol had chosen. The woman took notes. The man measured rooms, doorways, windows. They spent 40 minutes walking through every inch of the first and second floors. In the living room, Chase stood by the fireplace and said something. The camera was too far for clear audio, but his body language spoke volumes. Arms wide, smiling. Selling my home, the home I built with my hands, the home my wife died in. He was showing it off like merchandise. Bobby stood behind me watching. He said nothing. His jaw was tight. I switched to October 10th. The next day, Megan this time. Alone. She entered at 11 in the morning, using a key I had never given her. Must have copied mine at some point without telling me. She moved with purpose. No wandering, no sentimentality. Straight to my office. I watched my daughter open the filing cabinet, pull drawers, flip through folders. She found the insurance policies and spread them on my desk, photographing each page with her phone. Life insurance, home insurance, auto insurance, investment statements. She photographed them all, page by page, methodical and thorough. Then she went to the safe. Hidden behind Carol's watercolor painting of the lake at sunset. The painting Carol had been working on during her last healthy summer. Megan moved it aside, without a glance. Tried the combination. Failed. Tried again. Failed. A third time. Failed. I had changed the code 4 weeks before the accident. No particular reason. Just routine security. But watching Megan's face as the safe refused to open, I felt a cold gratitude for that impulse, because what I saw on her face was not confusion, not frustration. It was rage. Cold, calculating rage. The face of someone whose plan has hit an obstacle. She stared at that, safe like she wanted to tear it from the wall with her bare hands. After 23 minutes, she left, locked the door behind her, drove away. I sat back in my chair. My burns throbbed. My arm ached in its calf. My daughter and her husband treating my home like an asset to be liquidated. Measured, photographed, sold. Bobby put his hand on my shoulder. You have them, Frank. This is evidence. Not enough. I shook my head. Trespassing. Document theft. A lawyer could argue she still considers this her childhood home, that she was worried about me. That Chase was just getting estimates for maintenance while I recovered. We need more. Bobby opened his mouth to respond, but stopped. Both of us heard it at the same time. The crunch of tires on gravel. The sound of a car turning onto the private road that led only to my property. I looked at the tablet. The driveway camera. Live feed. A white Tesla creeping up the hill. Behind it, a black pickup truck. I recognized as Chase's. They were here. Right now. Coming to my door. My heart slammed against my cracked ribs. Bobby looked at me with wide eyes. What do we do? I closed the tablet. Stood up. Took a breath that hurt more than it should have. We let them in. I looked at the smoke detector above the office door, the tiny lens hidden inside it. Recording. Always recording. And we let them talk. 2 days of silence. No calls from Megan. No visits. No Tesla on the driveway camera. I almost convinced myself it was over, that they had given up, moved on to easier prey. I was wrong. Bobby arrived for coffee on the morning of October 15th. He had been coming every day since bringing me home from the hospital. We would sit on the deck with our mugs and watch the lake turn from gray to blue as the sun climbed. It had become routine. A good one, the kind that makes you feel less alone. But that morning, Bobby did not sit down. He stood in the kitchen doorway, his phone in his hand, his face the color of ash. Frank, you need to see this. He handed me the phone. A TikTok video. Megan's face filled the screen. Hair unwashed. No makeup. Dark circles under her eyes that I recognized as carefully applied concealer smudged to look like exhaustion. She was sitting in her car. The morning light making her tears shine like diamonds. I do not know what to do anymore. Her voice was barely above a whisper. My father had a terrible accident last week. A boat explosion. He almost died. But instead of letting us help him, he checked himself out of the hospital. He is refusing medical care. He accused me of terrible things. Things I cannot even repeat. She pressed her fingers to her temples. Let a sob escape. Perfectly timed. The doctors warned us this might happen. Traumatic brain injury can cause paranoia. Personality changes. Aggression toward family. My father, my sweet, kind father, he is not himself anymore. He looked at me like I was a stranger, like I was his enemy. Her voice cracked. I think he has dementia. I think the accident made it worse. And I am terrified that if he will not accept help, something terrible is going to happen to him. She wiped her eyes, looked directly into the lens. If anyone has experience with this, if anyone knows how to help someone who refuses help, please reach out. I just want my dad back. I just want him safe. The video ended. Below it, 200,000 views, 6,000 comments, 11,000 shares. I scrolled through the comments. Each one a small blade. This is so heartbreaking. You can see the pain in her eyes. Sounds like he needs a psychiatric evaluation immediately. My grandmother had dementia and acted exactly like this. Accused everyone of stealing from her. So sad. Someone needs to call Adult Protective Services. He should not be alone. This poor woman is doing everything she can, and he is pushing her away. Classic cognitive decline. Praying for you and your father, Megan. Stay strong. 200,000 people. 200,000 strangers, who now believed I was a paranoid old man with dementia, pushing away his devoted daughter. 200,000 potential witnesses for whatever legal action she planned next. Bobby took the phone back gently. He could see what it was doing to me. It is lies, Frank. All of it. Anyone who knows you knows that. But that was the problem. The people who knew me were few. Carol was gone. My social circle had shrunk after her death. Neighbors knew me as the quiet widower who took his boat out twice a week. They did not know me well enough to doubt what they saw on a screen. My phone began ringing. Then ringing again. People I had not heard from in months. A former colleague. A neighbor. 3 houses down. Carol's cousin. In Sacramento. Each call carried the same careful tone. That voice people use when they think they are talking to someone fragile. Frank, are you doing okay? We saw Megan's video and just wanted to check in. I am fine, I said. Every time. I am fine. There is no dementia. The video is not true, but I could hear it in their pauses. The doubt. They wanted to believe me, but the video was so convincing. Megan's tears so real. Her pain so visible. And I was just an old man on the phone saying, trust me, which is exactly what someone with dementia would say. By noon, I stopped answering calls. Let them go to voicemail. Each unanswered call felt like another brick in the wall Megan was building around me. Isolating me. Discrediting me. Making sure that when I finally spoke the truth, no one would believe it. Pete called at 1:15. I answered him. I assume you have seen it, he said. 200,000 views, Pete. People are calling Adult Protective Services. They think I have dementia. Do not engage. His voice was sharp. Do not post. Do not comment. Do not defend yourself online. That is exactly what she wants. If you respond emotionally, you look erratic. If you argue, you look defensive. If you post evidence, you look paranoid. Every move you make publicly helps her narrative. So I do nothing. While she tells the world, I am insane. For now, yes. We are building a case with facts, not feelings. When we move with law. Her video is theater. Ours will be evidence. I hung up. Sat in my living room. The beautiful room Carol and I had designed together. The room where Megan had stood crying for cameras while a realtor measured the square footage behind her. I had never felt so alone. Bobby was loyal, but Bobby had known me for a week. Pete was sharp, but Pete was a lawyer doing his job. The world beyond these walls thought I was losing my mind. My daughter had weaponized sympathy and turned public opinion into armor. At 4:37, my phone rang again. I almost let it go. Then I saw the name. Curtis Webb. Curtis. 64 years old. Retired Washoe County Sheriff's Deputy. 28 years in law enforcement. Before his knees gave out. We had met at a woodworking class Carol signed us up for 15 years ago. Became friends over sawdust and bad jokes. Played poker monthly for a decade. Stood beside me at Carol's funeral. Frank. His voice was gravel and certainty. I just saw that video your daughter posted. I have known you 30 years. That video is complete and total bullshit. You do not have dementia. You are one of the sharpest people I know. The relief hit me like a physical force. My eyes burned. My throat tightened. One person. Just one who did not doubt me. Curtis. I managed. What do you need, Frank? Tell me what is happening, and tell me what you need. I told him. Not everything, but enough. The fraud, the forgery, the boat, the cameras, the conservatorship threat. Curtis listened, the way a cop listens. Quiet, attentive, filing every detail. When I finished, he said one thing. I know someone. Detective Elena Ruiz. Washoe County. Specializes in elder exploitation cases. She is good, Frank. Really good. Let me make a call. Curtis called back at 8 the next morning. I had not slept. The comments from Megan's video scrolled through my mind on repeat. Classic dementia. Someone call APS. He should not be alone. 200,000 people diagnosing me from a 30-second performance. Frank. Curtis's voice was all business. I spoke with Detective Ruiz last night. She wants to meet you. Today, if possible. Today works. I had nowhere else to be. Nowhere felt safe anymore, except inside these walls, with their 32 silent witnesses. She is at the Washoe County substation on South Virginia. Can you get there by noon? I will be there. Bobby drove me. My left arm was still in a cast. The burns on my back, still raw under the bandages. Every bump in the road reminded me of what Chase had done. Every mile closer to the police station felt like one step towards something I could not take back. You sure about this? Bobby asked. Once you involve the police, there is no undoing it. This becomes real. Criminal. It became real when my boat exploded, I said. He nodded. Did not argue. Detective Elena Ruiz met us in a small conference room. Mid-40s. Dark hair pulled back tight. Eyes that moved with the sharp efficiency of someone who has seen every kind of human cruelty and learned not to flinch. She wore a plain navy blazer over a white shirt. No jewelry except a thin gold chain. Her badge hung from her belt. Mr. Donovan. She shook my hand firmly. Curtis told me enough to get me interested. But I need to hear it from you. All of it. From the beginning. So I told her. Everything. The boat. The hospital. The nurse's observations. The TikTok video. The GoFundMe fraud. The forged power of attorney. The title modification. The life insurance policy. The Zillow listing. The footage of Chase giving tours to realtors. Megan photographing my documents. The conservatorship papers they brought to my home. Chase's threat. Ruiz listened without interruption. She took notes in a small black notebook, her handwriting tight and precise. When I finished, she looked up. You said you have camera footage. All of this is recorded. 32 cameras. Cloud backup. I have Chase entering my home with realtors on October 9th. Megan searching my office on October 10th. Both of them presenting conservatorship documents on the 12th. Every timestamp. Every angle. She nodded slowly. And the boat. You examined it yourself. At the salvage yard in Incline Village. Fuel line cut clean. Exhaust ventilation, sealed with marine epoxy. Designed to explode under throttle load. Chase Pratt worked as a marine mechanic at Tahoe Marina for 3 years. He has the knowledge and the access. Ruiz set her pen down. Looked at me steadily. Mr. Donovan. What you are describing is attempted murder. financial exploitation of an elderly person, wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. These are serious charges. I do not make arrests based on stories. I make arrests based on evidence. She paused. But what you are telling me, combined with the footage and the forensic examination of that boat, this is substantial. I want to open a formal investigation. The relief should have been overwhelming. Instead, I felt hollow. Opening an investigation into your own daughter for trying to kill you is not a victory. It is a wound that will never fully close. Thank you, I said quietly. Ruiz tilted her head. Why did you not come to us sooner? After the hospital, after you discovered the fraud. Because she is my daughter. My voice was barely above a whisper. I kept hoping. I was wrong. Something softened in her eyes. Just for a moment. Then the professional mask returned. I understand. But from this point forward, Mr. Donovan, you let us handle this. Do not confront them again. Do not tip them off. Keep your cameras running, and let them continue to believe they are operating unseen. I will. I have one more question. Do you feel safe in your home? I thought about it. 32 cameras. Bobby checking in daily. Curtis a phone call away. The doors locked. The security system armed. But I also thought about Chase's eyes. The patience in them. The cold calculation. For now, I said. Ruiz nodded. We will move quickly. Bobby and I were halfway home when my phone rang. Pete Navarro. His voice was tight, in a way I had not heard before. Frank, I have bad news. More bad news. I almost laughed. What is it? Megan filed for emergency conservatorship this morning. The petition went before Judge William Harker at 9 a.m. The hearing is scheduled for October 25th. The car felt smaller. The air thinner. 10 days. Pete continued. We have 10 days. If she wins that hearing, Frank, she controls everything. Your house, your bank accounts, your medical decisions, your legal authority. Everything goes to her as your appointed conservator. On what grounds? Cognitive decline following traumatic brain injury. Inability to manage personal affairs. Self-endangering behavior, specifically leaving the hospital against medical advice. And the social media evidence. She submitted her own videos as documentation of your erratic behavior. She submitted videos she filmed herself, of herself crying. Welcome to the modern legal system. Pete's voice was bitter. A judge sees a tearful daughter. Medical records showing a serious accident. And a 67-year-old man who checked himself out of the hospital. It is not an automatic win for her, but it is not impossible either. What do we need? A psychiatric evaluation proving your competence. Character witnesses. And ideally, proof that the petitioner is acting in bad faith. If we can show the court that Megan is not a concerned daughter but a criminal conspirator, the petition collapses. We have the footage. We have the fraud. We have a police investigation. Then we need to move fast. 10 days, Frank. Everything happens in 10 days. I stared out the window at Lake Tahoe passing by. Blue and calm and indifferent to the war being waged around its shores. 10 days. 10 days before a judge could sign a piece of paper and hand my life to the woman who had tried to end it. 10 days to prove I was not the confused old man Megan was selling to the world. 10 days to prove she was the criminal. Not me. Bobby glanced over. His hands tight on the wheel. We will make it, Frank. I wished I shared his certainty. 9 days left. I woke before dawn, my body refusing sleep the way it had every night since the explosion. The lake outside my bedroom window was black. Still, I lay there counting the things I knew for certain. My daughter wanted me dead. Her husband had tried to make it happen. And in 9 days, a judge might hand them everything without either of them needing to lift a finger again. Detective Ruiz called at 7:30. She had already been at work for 2 hours. Mr. Donovan, I need you at the substation this morning. Bring everything. Every piece of footage. every document, every financial record Pete Navarro has compiled. I want it all in one place. Bobby drove me again. My arm was healing, but the cast remained. The burns itched beneath their bandages, a constant low-grade reminder that someone had set me on fire and I had survived out of luck rather than design. Ruiz met us in the same conference room. This time she had a colleague, a young officer named Torres, who handled digital evidence. For 2 hours, I walked them through every camera file, every timestamp, every angle. Torres transferred the footage to a secure evidence server, cataloging each clip. Ruiz watched the footage of Chase leading realtors through my home with her jaw set. She watched Megan photographing my financial documents with her eyes narrowed. When the footage of the conservatorship confrontation played, Chase's voice filling the small room with his smooth threats, Ruiz paused the video. "He rehearsed that," she said quietly. "That is not spontaneous speech. He practiced those lines." "I know." She turned to me. "The boat. I have arranged for an official forensic examination. Dr. Martin Schaefer, mechanical forensics specialist, works with ATF on arson and explosion cases. He will examine the wreckage this afternoon at the Incline Village Yard. I wanted to be there." She shook her head. "Chain of custody, Mr. Donovan. If you are present, a defense attorney will argue contamination. Let the expert do his work. I will have his report by tomorrow, the next day." 8 days left. Ruiz called at 4 in the afternoon. Schaefer completed his examination. "His report is conclusive." She read from it directly. "The primary fuel line shows a clean transverse incision consistent with a sharp blade, likely a utility knife or razor. The cut was positioned to allow slow fuel seepage under vibration, creating vapor accumulation in the engine compartment. Additionally, the exhaust ventilation port was occluded with a cured marine-grade epoxy compound, preventing combustion gas evacuation and creating progressive pressure buildup." She paused. His conclusion. "The engine was deliberately modified to function normally at idle and low throttle, but to catastrophically fail under sustained load. The modifications are consistent with someone possessing specific knowledge of marine engine mechanics. This was not accidental. This was engineered. Engineered." That word settled into my bones. "There is more," Ruiz continued. "We subpoenaed the GoFundMe financial records this morning. $147,000 raised. Here is where it went." I heard papers shuffling. 80,000 transferred to an entity called Crypto Collective LLC on October 12th. My team confirmed this is a group of private investors that Chase Pratt owes significant money to. Approximately 500,000 in failed cryptocurrency venture debts. The transfer appears to be a partial debt payment," she continued. 40,000 withdrawn in cash across 11 ATM transactions between October 10th and 14th. Withdrawal locations correspond to high-end shopping districts in Reno and Sacramento. We are pulling surveillance footage from those ATMs to confirm who made the withdrawals, and the remaining 27,000 was transferred to a personal checking account belonging to Megan Donovan Pratt on October 13th. They were spending it. Spending the money strangers donated to save a man they had tried to kill. 80,000 to pay off Chase's gambling debts. 40,000 on luxury shopping. 27,000 straight into Megan's pocket. While 120,000 people prayed for my recovery, Ruiz was not finished. "Mr. Donovan, I saved the most significant finding for last. We obtained a warrant for Chase Pratt's phone records and text messages. On October 4th, 4 days before your boat exploded, Chase sent a text message to a man named Derek Choi, one of the principal investors in Crypto Collective. She read it to me word by word. The Tahoe property will be liquid within 30 days. The old man will not be a problem much longer. Expect first payment by November 1st. The room went silent. Bobby sat beside me, unmoving. October 4th. 4 days before my engine exploded. Chase told his creditor that my property would be available within 30 days and that I would not be a problem. He wrote it down, sent it through a phone, created a record of his own premeditation. That is not ambiguous, Ruiz said. That is a man communicating his intent to remove you as an obstacle to accessing your property. Combined with the forensic evidence of sabotage, the forged documents, and the financial exploitation, we have a very strong case. Strong enough to arrest them now, I said. Ruiz was quiet for a moment. Strong enough for warrants, yes. But Mr. Donovan, here is my concern. Chase Pratt is clearly the operational mind here. He plans. He anticipates. If we arrest them now on fraud and exploitation charges, a skilled defense attorney will argue the text was vague, business communication. The boat was old and poorly maintained. The title change was a family misunderstanding. She leaned forward. I want attempted murder. I want conspiracy. I want charges so heavy that no jury in Nevada will let them walk. And for that, I need them to make one more move. One clear, undeniable act that removes all ambiguity. You want them to try again, I said. I want them to believe they still have the advantage. That you are weak, confused, vulnerable. And I want them to act on that belief while we are watching, while we are ready. Bobby shifted uncomfortably beside me. That makes Frank bait, he said. Ruiz looked at me directly. It does. And I will not pretend there is no risk. But we will be there. Every step. Are you willing? I thought about Chase's text. The old man will not be a problem much longer. I thought about the 10-day clock ticking toward a courtroom where my daughter would try to legally erase me. When, I said, soon. Before the hearing. Let me design something. Give me 2 days. 2 days later. 6 days left on the clock. Ruiz arrived at my lake house at 9 in the morning with a file folder and the focused energy of someone who had not slept much but did not need to. Bobby made coffee. Curtis had driven over from Reno. Pete joined by phone, his voice filling the kitchen through the speaker. 4 people gathered around my dining table. The table Carol and I had built from a single slab of black walnut we found at a salvage auction 20 years ago. Now, it was a war room. Here is what I am proposing, Ruiz said, opening her folder. We create an opportunity they cannot resist. Mr. Donovan makes a phone call to Megan. During this call, he reveals 3 things. 1, he has a significant amount of cash stored in his workshop safe. 2, he provides the combination. 3, he mentions he will be heavily medicated and asleep early that evening. She looked around the table. The goal is to lure them into your home with clear criminal intent, breaking and entering with purpose to steal. If they open that safe, if they take what is inside, that is burglary. Combined with everything else we have, it builds an airtight case. How much cash are we talking about? Curtis asked. We are not putting real cash in the safe, Ruiz replied. We put something else. Something that tells them they have been caught. She looked at me. I was thinking a note. I nodded slowly. An idea forming, and the combination. Pete's voice came through the speaker. If Frank gives them a real combination, they will know it is legitimate. If the safe actually opens, they commit fully. I will give them Carol's birthday, I said. October 19th, 1961. 10/1961. It is not the current code. I changed it last month, but I can change it back tonight. They do not know I changed it. Megan would expect Carol's birthday to be the combination. It is the kind of detail a confused old man might accidentally reveal. Ruiz nodded. Good. Authentic. Believable. What about the phone call itself? Bobby asked. Frank has to sound convincing. Confused. Weak. I have thought about that. I looked down at my hands. The calluses from 30 years of building. The cast on my left arm. Carol always said I could not act. That I was the worst liar she had ever met. She was right. But this was not acting. This was survival. I know how to sound tired, I said. I know how to sound old. I have been both for months. I just need to stop hiding it. Ruiz pulled out a second sheet. Logistics. I will have 3 officers positioned inside the house before the call is made. 1 in the workshop basement, behind the storage shelves. 1 in the first-floor guest bathroom adjacent to the main hallway. 1 in the upstairs linen closet with a direct line of sight to the staircase. She pointed to a rough floor plan she had sketched. Frank and Bobby will be on the 3rd floor in the master bedroom. Door locked. Monitoring all 32 camera feeds in real time. The moment they enter the house, we know. The moment they approach the safe, we are ready. The moment they open it, we move. And if they do not come, Curtis said, then we have lost nothing. The call is recorded legally, with judicial authorization. If Megan responds enthusiastically to information about cash and a vulnerable father, that recording alone damages her conservatorship petition. And if they bring weapons, Bobby said quietly. Ruiz met his eyes. My officers will be armed. We will intervene immediately if there is any indication of violence. But based on their pattern, this is a stealth operation for them. They come at night. They use keys. They move quietly. They are burglars, not home invaders. Pete spoke from the phone. Frank, I need to say something as your attorney. This plan puts you in proximity to 2 people who have already attempted to kill you. If something goes wrong, if they deviate from expectations, there is a window of vulnerability before police can respond. You understand that. I understand. And you still want to do this. I looked around my kitchen, at the cabinets I had built by hand, the countertop Carol chose, the window above the sink where she used to watch the sunset while washing dishes. This house held everything I had ever loved. And 2 people were trying to take it from me, had already tried to take my life to get it. Pete. They rigged my boat to explode. They forged my signature. They told the world I have dementia. And in 6 days, a judge might give them legal control over everything I own. If I do nothing, I lose anyway. At least this way, I fight back on my terms. Silence on the line. Then Pete sighed. All right. I trust you. I trust Detective Ruiz. When do we do this? Ruiz closed her folder. Tomorrow night, October 20th. 5 days before the hearing. It gives us time to process the arrest, present evidence to the judge, and have the conservatorship petition dismissed before it ever reaches a courtroom. Tomorrow. 1 phone call. 1 night. 1 chance to end this. Curtis stood. I will be nearby. Not inside, but close. If you need anything. Bobby looked at me. You will not be alone, Frank. No. For the first time in weeks, I would not be alone. I would have Bobby beside me. 3 officers in my walls. Ruiz coordinating from her vehicle outside. Curtis down the road. Pete on standby with emergency motions prepared. But more than that, I had 32 cameras. 32 silent witnesses that never blinked, never slept, never forgot. My house, my fortress. My wife's final gift to me, the permission to be paranoid when paranoia was all that stood between me and oblivion. Tomorrow night, I said. Let us finish this. October 20th. I woke at 5. Did not try to go back to sleep. There was no point. Today was the day I would lie to my daughter for the last time, and she would walk into the truth. Bobby arrived at 7 with bagels and a thermos of coffee. We sat on the deck in the cold morning air. The lake was silver beneath low clouds. Neither of us spoke much. There was nothing left to say that had not already been said. At noon, Pete called for a final rehearsal. He had written key phrases on index cards and mailed them overnight. Things I needed to say. Words I needed to stumble over. Details I needed to accidentally reveal as though my aging mind was betraying me. Remember, Pete said. You are not performing. You are becoming. An old man whose memory is slipping. Who is scared and lonely. Who does not realize he is giving away dangerous information. Your voice should waver. Pause in wrong places. Repeat yourself once or twice. Call her by Carol's name at least once, then correct yourself. That detail will sell it. I held the cards in my good hand. Read them through 3 times. Carol used to say I was the worst liar God ever made. That my face telegraphed every thought before my mouth could catch up. She was right. I had never been able to bluff at poker, keep a surprise birthday party secret, or pretend to like someone's cooking when it was terrible. But this was not a poker game. This was my life, my home, my freedom. And somewhere inside the man Carol had loved for 34 years, there had to be enough of a performer to survive one phone call. Bobby ran through it with me twice, playing Megan's part, asking questions, testing my responses. By 2:30, I could deliver the lines without looking at the cards. The confusion felt natural. The vulnerability felt real. Maybe because it was not entirely fake. I was tired. I was in pain. I was 67 years old, with a broken arm and burns across my back, and a daughter who wanted me dead. Playing weak did not require much imagination. At 3:15, Ruiz called. "We are in position outside your property. 3 officers entering through the basement service door in 10 minutes. You will not see them. You will not hear them. But they will be there." At 3:25, Bobby squeezed my shoulder. "You can do this, Frank." At 3:30, I dialed Megan's number. She answered on the second ring. "Dad." Her voice carried that same manufactured warmth, the sound of someone who had practiced caring. "Are you okay?" I let my voice tremble. "Just slightly." "Megan." "Is that you, sweetheart?" "Yes, Dad. It is me." "Are you all right? You sound tired." I am so tired, honey. I cannot sleep. The pain medication makes me confused. I keep forgetting things." I paused. Let the silence stretch too long, the way someone with failing cognition might lose their train of thought. "Dad, you still there?" "Yes. Yes, sorry. I was looking for something. Something important. I cannot remember where I put things anymore." Important things. A beat of silence on her end. I could almost hear her leaning forward. Attention. Sharpening behind that sweet voice. "What are you looking for, Dad?" "The money. The cash from when I sold the old fishing boat last year. I kept it in the workshop, in the safe down there. $85,000. Carol told me to put it in the bank, but I never did. I never trusted banks. You know that." Another pause. Longer this time. I could hear her breathing change. Faster. The excitement she could not quite suppress. "I did not know you had that much cash at home, Dad. That is a lot of money to keep in a safe." I know. I am an old fool, but I changed the combination last month, and now I cannot." I paused again. Let frustration creep into my voice. "I cannot remember the new one. I think I wrote it somewhere. Or maybe I used your mother's birthday." Carol's birthday. October 19th, 1961. I heard her swallow. "Dad, do not worry about it right now. Just rest. I'm going to take my pills tonight. The strong ones. Doctor said they would help me sleep through the night. I am so tired, Meg. I just need to sleep." That is good, Dad. You need rest." A pause. She was calculating. I could feel it through the phone. The wheels turning. The plan forming. "Listen. Chase and I were going to come by tonight anyway. To check on you. Make sure you are eating. We will just let ourselves in quietly, so we do not wake you." "Okay. That would be nice, sweetheart. I miss you. I miss you too, Dad. Just rest. Take your pills. We will see you tonight." The line went dead. I sat there with the phone in my hand, staring at the lake through the window. She had not hesitated. Not for 1 second. Her father tells her he has $85,000 in cash and will be drugged unconscious tonight. And she says we will let ourselves in. Bobby was watching me. His face said everything his mouth did not. She took it, I said. All of it. Did not even pause. I know. He looked away. I am sorry, Frank. The next 6 hours moved like tar. Thick. And slow. And suffocating. The officers were invisible. I could not hear them. Could not see them. But knowing they were there, tucked into corners of my own home like ghosts with badges, changed the air pressure somehow. At 9, Ruiz confirmed all positions by radio. Officers in place. Audio, recording active on all 12 capable cameras. Cloud backup verified. Everything operational. At 9:45, I turned off every light in the house. Bobby and I climbed to the 3rd floor. The master bedroom. Door locked. Tablet in my lap. 32 camera feeds glowing in night vision green. The house below us silent. The lake outside black and still. We waited. 10 o'clock. Nothing. 10:15. My ribs ached from sitting still. Bobby's breathing was steady beside me. 10:22. Headlights. Faint. Coming up the private road. Then, they went dark. The vehicle continued climbing by moonlight alone. I looked at the driveway camera. A white Tesla, creeping up the gravel with its lights extinguished, stopping 30 yards from the front door. Engine off. 2 figures emerged. Dark clothing. Gloves. Bobby's hand found my arm in the darkness. Squeezed once. They had come. Just like we knew they would. Just like they always would. As long as they believed there was money to take, and an old man too broken to stop them. I watched them approach my front door on the tablet screen. 2 shadows against the night. My daughter and her husband, coming to rob me one final time. On the tablet screen, they moved like smoke. 2 shadows gliding along the side of the house, staying close to the wall, avoiding the front door. Smart. The front had a motion-activated porch light. They knew that. They had been here enough times to know. They went to the back. The mudroom door. The one that faced the lake, hidden from the road. Invisible to any neighbor. I watched Megan pull a key from her pocket. A key I had never given her. A copy she must have made months ago. Maybe years ago. Waiting for the right moment to use it. The lock turned. The door opened. They slipped inside. On the night vision feed, everything was green and gray and ghostly. Megan entered first. Black leggings. Black jacket. Leather gloves. Her hair pulled back under a dark cap. Behind her, Chase. All black. A small backpack over one shoulder. A penlight in his right hand. Beam narrow and controlled. They stood in the mudroom for a moment, listening. The house was tomb silent around them. They heard nothing, because there was nothing to hear. 3 armed officers breathing shallow in their hiding spots. Bobby and me on the 3rd floor behind a locked door. 32 cameras watching with infinite patience. Chase touched Megan's shoulder. Pointed up, then down. A rehearsed signal. They had planned this. Discussed who would go where. Assigned roles. Megan nodded and moved toward the staircase. Up. Toward my office on the 2nd floor. More documents. More photographs. More ammunition for whatever legal assault they were building. Chase went the other direction. Down. Through the kitchen to the basement door. Down the wooden steps to my workshop. Where the safe waited. Where $85,000 was supposed to be sitting behind a 4-digit code. I tracked them on separate cameras. Split screen on the tablet. Bobby leaned in beside me, his breath warm against my ear, watching. Megan climbed the stairs quickly. Confident. She had done this before, and the plebe proved it. Same path. Same pace. She turned left at the top, walked straight into my office, and went directly to the filing cabinet. No searching. No hesitation. She knew exactly which drawer held what she wanted, But my eyes were on Chase. He descended the basement stairs with the penlight cutting a thin line through the darkness. My workshop. 30 years of tools hanging on pegboard walls. The workbench where I had built furniture, repaired engines, taught myself cabinetry from library books. The table saw Carol gave me for our 20th anniversary. Chase walked past all of it without a glance. Straight to the far wall. To the metal shelving unit that held paint cans and old hardware. He reached behind it, into the gap between shelf and wall, and found the safe. 18 inches square, bolted to the concrete floor. Hidden from casual view, he knew exactly where it was. He had been down here before. Probably the night he came alone, and I was not yet watching. Chase crouched, set his penlight between his teeth. Both hands free now. He reached for the dial. I watched his fingers move. Slow, precise. The combination, Carol's birthday. 1, 0, 1, 9, 6, 1. The dial clicked. The handle turned. The safe door swung open. Chase reached inside. His hand emerged, holding a single item. A folded piece of white paper. Nothing else. No cash, no documents, no $85,000. Just paper. I watched him unfold it. Watched his eyes, scan the words, written in my handwriting. Block letters. Black marker. Impossible to misread. Smile. You are on camera. For 3 seconds, Chase Pratt did not move. Did not breathe. His entire body locked rigid, as if every muscle had received the same command simultaneously. Freeze. Then his head snapped up. His eyes scanned the ceiling, the walls, the corners of the workshop. Searching. Frantic. The penlight still clenched between his teeth, cast wild shadows as his head jerked from point to point. He found it. The smoke detector mounted on the ceiling joist, directly above the safe. Standard white plastic housing. Completely ordinary, except for the tiny pinpoint of red light at its center. A lens, aimed directly at his face, recording every movement, every expression. Uploading to a server in Reno every 60 seconds, and in that moment, illuminated in green-gray night vision on my tablet screen from 40 feet above, I saw something I had never seen on Chase Pratt's face in 5 years of family dinners and holiday gatherings, and forced smiles across Thanksgiving tables. Fear. Pure. Absolute, paralyzing fear. The fear of a man who has just realized he is not the predator. He is the prey. That every step he took tonight was watched. That every word he spoke was recorded. That the confused old man upstairs was never confused at all. Chase dropped the paper. His hands were shaking. He stood up too fast, banged his head on the shelf above, stumbled backward. The penlight fell from his teeth and clattered on the concrete floor, spinning in a circle, throwing wild arcs of light across the walls. On the other screen, Megan was still in my office. Oblivious. Photographing documents with her phone. She had not heard anything. The basement was too far. The house too solid. The walls I had built too thick. Chase reached for his phone. His hands trembling so badly he almost dropped it. He was going to warn her. Going to call Megan. Going to run. Not yet, I whispered. Looking at the tablet. Looking at the man who had rigged my boat to explode. The man who had calculated my death like a line item on a spreadsheet. Bobby's hand was on my shoulder. Steady. Grounding. On the screen below, Chase pressed his phone to his ear, waiting for Megan to answer. His mouth moving. Words I could not hear, but could imagine. Get out. Get out now. He knows. He knows everything, but it was too late for that. It had been too late since the moment he cut my fuel line. Since the moment he sealed my exhaust with epoxy. Since the moment he decided that a 67-year-old man's life was worth less than a lake house on Zillow. I reached for my own phone. Pressed one button. The text I had pre-written to Ruiz. They are inside. Chase found the note. Move now. Everything happened in seconds. The house that had been silent for hours erupted like a dam breaking. Below me, through the tablet screen, I saw the basement door slam open. Two officers surged down the workshop stairs, flashlights blazing, voices sharp and commanding. Washoe County Sheriff. Do not move. Hands where we can see them. Chase was already running. He had dropped his phone and was scrambling toward the back of the workshop, toward the small egress window I had installed for ventilation. But he was too big and it was too small, and he knew it the moment he reached it. He spun around, pressing his back against the wall, his hands raised, his face wild in the flashlight beams. On the ground. Now. The officer's voice left no room for negotiation. Chase went down. Not willingly. He tried to push past the first officer. A shoulder check that might have worked against a smaller man. It did not work. The officer caught his arm, twisted, and Chase hit the concrete floor face first. The second officer was on him before he could react. Hands wrenched behind his back. The metallic click of handcuffs ratcheting shut. Simultaneously, on the second screen, the first-floor hallway. The guest bathroom door opened, and an officer stepped out directly at the base of the staircase. Megan was halfway down, moving fast. She had heard the commotion below. Her phone was pressed to her ear. She must have finally answered Chase's call. She saw the officer and stopped. Frozen on the fourth step. Her mouth open. The phone slipping from her fingers, clattering down the stairs. Above her, at the top of the staircase, another figure appeared. Detective Ruiz. She had entered through the front door the moment she received my text. Megan Donovan Pratt. Do not move. Keep your hands visible. Megan's head swiveled between the officer below and Ruiz above. Trapped on the stairs. Nowhere to go. Her face cycling through emotions faster than I could catalog them. Confusion. Disbelief. Terror. I stood up. Bobby's hand steadied me as my ribs protested. I unlocked the bedroom door, stepped onto the third-floor landing, and looked down. Megan stood below me on the staircase, small in her black clothing and gloves, looking up at me with wide eyes. The same brown eyes Carol had, the same eyes that had watched me build this house. Board by board, year by year, I descended slowly, one step at a time. My hand on the railing I had carved from a single piece of maple. Past the second-floor landing, down toward where my daughter stood, pinned between law enforcement above and below. I stopped 3 steps above her, close enough to see her face clearly, close enough to see the moment she understood. Dad. Her voice was a whisper. What? How? 32 cameras, Megan. My voice came out steady, cold. Steadier than I felt. Every room, every angle, every visit you made while I was in the hospital, every realtor Chase paraded through my living room, every document you photographed in my office, every time you tried my safe. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. I know about the boat. I continued. I know Chase cut the fuel line and sealed the exhaust with epoxy. I know about the life insurance policy, $1.2 million with my forged signature. I know about the title modification. I know about the Zillow listing. I know about the GoFundMe, $147,000 for surgery I never needed, for medical bills that do not exist. Each sentence landed like a hammer blow. I could see her shrinking with each one, her shoulders curling inward, her hands trembling in their black gloves. I know about Chase's text to Derek Choi, 4 days before my boat exploded. The old man will not be a problem much longer. I met her eyes. Stop lying to me, Megan. It is over. The silence lasted 3 heartbeats. Then she broke. Not gradually. Not gracefully. She shattered like a window hit by a stone. Her knees buckled. She sank onto the stair-step, her body folding in on itself, and the sounds that came from her were not the practiced sobs of her TikTok performances. These were raw, Animal. The sounds of someone whose entire world has collapsed in 60 seconds. Dad. Daddy. Please. You do not understand. We were drowning. Chase owed them $500,000. The crypto collective people. They threatened us. Said they would hurt us. Said they would hurt me. We did not know what else to do. The words poured out, tumbling over each other. A confession she did not even realize she was making. Every word, captured by the camera in the hallway. Smoke detector. Every syllable uploading to the cloud server in Reno. We did not think you would actually get hurt. The boat. Chase said it would just be a small fire. Said you would get scared and jump in the water, and someone would rescue you, and then we could file the insurance claim. We did not think. She gasped for air. We did not think it would explode like that. When they said you almost died, I was relieved you survived. I was. I swear I was. Relieved. She was relieved. I survived. The murder her husband engineered. As if that was something to be proud of. But then Chase said we had gone too far. That Mateo and Derek would hurt us if we did not pay. That we needed the house. Needed the insurance. Needed it all. And you were fine. You were okay. You did not need all that money. You were just one person in a big house and we were desperate. Daddy. We were so scared. I looked down at my daughter. Crumpled on the stairs of the house I built. Confessing to attempted murder in the same breath, she called me Daddy. Wearing burglar's gloves while claiming she never meant to hurt me. From the basement, I could hear Chase shouting, demanding a lawyer, threatening lawsuits. A very different reaction from a very different kind of guilty. Ruiz descended the stairs behind Megan, her face professionally neutral, recording device visible on her lapel. Everything admissible. Megan. I said her name, and she looked up at me. Face streaked with tears and mascara. Real tears this time. I could tell the difference now. I did not know what I expected to feel in this moment. Triumph, satisfaction, closure. But looking at her, all I felt was tired. Bone tired. The kind of tiredness that sleep cannot fix. You could have asked me for help, I said quietly. You could have told me the truth. I would have given you money. I would have helped you with the debt. You are my daughter. I would have done anything for you. Her face crumpled further. A new wave of sobs. Instead, you chose to kill me. And when that failed, you chose to rob me. And when I survived that, you tried to steal my freedom with a conservatorship. At what point, Megan? At what point did you stop seeing me as your father? She had no answer. Just broken sounds echoing up and down the staircase I had built with my own hands 30 years ago. Ruiz let the silence hold for exactly as long as it needed to. Then she stepped forward. Professional. Precise. The woman who had seen 100 families torn apart by greed and knew exactly how to move through the wreckage. Megan Donovan Pratt. She spoke clearly enough for every microphone in the house to capture. You are under arrest for breaking and entering. Attempted burglary. Wire fraud. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, and conspiracy to commit bodily harm. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand these rights? Megan did not respond. She sat on the stairstep like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Eyes vacant. Tears still falling, but silently now. The raw animal sobs had faded into something quieter, something emptier. Megan. Ruiz repeated. Do you understand your rights? As I have read them. Yes. The word came out as a breath, barely audible. Ruiz nodded to the officer at the base of the stairs. He ascended carefully, gently lifted Megan to her feet. She did not resist, did not pull away. Her arms went behind her back, with the limp compliance of someone who has given up entirely. The handcuffs clicked shut around her gloved wrists. From below, The basement door opened. Two officers escorted Chase up the stairs. His face was a mess. Blood from his nose, where he had hit the concrete floor. A red scrape along his cheekbone. His hands cuffed behind him. His shoulders wrenched back at an uncomfortable angle. But his eyes were what I noticed. Not afraid anymore. Furious. The cold calculation I had seen so many times replaced by hot, desperate rage. This is entrapment. His voice was loud. Controlled but loud. Performing for the recording devices he now knew existed. You set us up. You lured us here with false information. This will never hold up in court. My attorney will have every charge dismissed. Ruiz did not respond to him. She turned to the second officer, Chase Pratt. You are under arrest for breaking and entering, attempted burglary, attempted murder, wire fraud, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, conspiracy to commit bodily harm, and criminal destruction of property. You have the right to remain silent. She continued through the Miranda rights. Chase talked over her, demanding his lawyer, threatening civil suits. His voice bounced off the walls of the house he had tried to steal, the house he had paraded realtors through while its owner lay in a hospital bed. I stood on the stairs and watched them. My daughter, my son-in-law, in handcuffs, in my home, the home Carol and I built together over 3 decades, the home they had tried to take from me by every means available. Fraud, forgery, false narratives, and finally, murder. The officers began moving them toward the front door. Chase went first, still talking, still threatening, each word more hollow than the last. The officers guided him firmly, ignoring his protests with the practiced patience of people who had heard every variation of innocent outrage from guilty men. Then Megan. She walked slowly. Each step seemed to cost her something. At the threshold, she stopped. The officer beside her paused, allowing it. Perhaps he sensed what was coming. She turned, looked back at me. Her face was ruined. Mascara streaked to her jawline, eyes swollen, lips trembling. She looked young in that moment. Younger than her 33 years. She looked like the girl who used to sit on my shoulders at 4th of July parades. The girl who cried when her goldfish died and insisted we hold a funeral in the backyard. Daddy. Her voice cracked on the word. Please. I am sorry. I am so sorry. I looked at her. My daughter. Carol's daughter. The baby we brought home from the hospital, in a yellow blanket. The toddler who took her first steps on this very floor. The girl who learned to swim in the lake outside that window. I turned away. I could not watch her leave. Could not watch them put her in the back of a patrol car. Could not stand in the doorway and watch the red and blue lights illuminate the home she had tried to steal as they drove her away from it forever. Bobby was there. His hand on my shoulder. Steady and warm. He guided me to the living room. Sat me down on the couch. The couch Carol picked out 22 years ago because she said it was the color of autumn leaves. I heard the front door close. Heard engines starting outside. Heard tires on gravel. Heard the sounds fade down the private road until the night was quiet again. Ruiz came back inside. Her footsteps measured and calm. Mr. Donovan. She stood in the living room doorway. They are in custody. Both of them. My officers will transport them to the county detention center for processing. I will need you at the station tomorrow for a formal statement. But tonight, it is done. I nodded. Could not speak. You showed remarkable courage tonight. Not many people could do what you just did, especially with family. I found my voice. I did not have a choice. You did, she said quietly. You could have looked away. Forgiven. Forgotten. Let them take what they wanted and called it love. Many people do. She paused. You chose differently. That matters. After she left, Bobby and I sat in the silence. The house settling around us. The lake outside black and still, reflecting stars I could not see through the window glass. "Are you okay?" Bobby asked. I thought about it, really thought about it. My daughter was in the back of a police car. My son-in-law was bleeding from the face and screaming about lawyers. The woman I raised, the last living piece of Carol I had in this world, was gone from my life in a way that felt permanent and absolute. "No," I said. "I am not okay." Bobby nodded. Did not try to fix it. Did not offer words. Just sat beside me in the dark house. In the silence. In the aftermath. "But I am alive," I said after a while. "And tonight, I think that is enough." Outside, the lake held its reflection of stars. Quiet. Patient. Indifferent to the small human tragedies played out on its shores. I stared at it for a long time. The same lake where my boat had exploded. The same lake where I had nearly drowned. The same lake Carol and I had fallen in love beside. 34 years ago. It was still beautiful. Even now. Even after everything. I suppose that meant something. I just did not know what yet. The conservatorship hearing never happened. 3 days after the arrest, Pete filed an emergency motion, presenting the criminal charges, the recorded confession, and the evidence of fraud. Judge Harker dismissed Megan's petition without a hearing. The words he used were brought in bad faith by a petitioner now facing criminal prosecution. The threat of losing my autonomy vanished with the stroke of a pen. But justice moved slowly. The investigation consumed the winter months like a fire eating through dry timber. December. January. February. Ruiz was thorough, methodical. She left nothing to chance and nothing to argument. Dr. Martin Schaefer testified in his deposition that the boat modifications were unambiguous, deliberate engineering designed to create catastrophic failure under load. He had examined over 300 engine failures in his career. This was not accident. This was intent. The financial forensics team traced every dollar. The GoFundMe money mapped from donor to destination. $80,000 to Crypto Collective. $40,000 in luxury cash withdrawals. $27,000 to Megan's personal account. ATM surveillance footage confirmed Chase making the withdrawals in Reno and Sacramento. Shopping bags, restaurant receipts, a hotel room at the Grand Sierra Resort. Celebrating while strangers prayed for my recovery, Derek Choi and 2 other Crypto Collective investors were deposed in January. Their testimony was devastating. Chase owed them $512,000 from a failed cryptocurrency venture. Payments were months overdue. Threats had been made. Then, on October 4th, Chase had contacted Derek directly. He said the money was coming soon, Derek testified. Said he was about to receive a large inheritance. I asked from who? He said his father-in-law. I asked when. He said very soon. 4 days later, we saw the news about a boat explosion on Lake Tahoe. Premeditation. Motive. Timeline. Every piece fitting together like the joints in a well-built cabinet. The trial began on February 11th at Washoe County District Court. Judge Sandra Okafor presiding. The gallery was full. Local media. Curious spectators. Bobby sat behind me every day, Curtis beside him, Pete at the prosecution table as a consulting attorney. Megan sat with her public defender. She had lost weight. Her hair was flat, unwashed, no makeup. The woman who had cried so convincingly for cameras looked hollowed out, diminished. Chase sat at a separate table with his private attorney, a man named Victor Leland who charged $400 an hour and smiled too much. Prosecutor David Huang was precise and relentless. He built the case brick by brick over 4 days. Forensic evidence first, then financial records, then witness testimony, then the footage. 32 camera angles played on the courtroom screens. Chase leading realtors through my home. Megan photographing documents. The night of October 20th. In night vision green. Chase opening the safe, finding the note. His face contorting with terror. Megan's confession on the staircase, every word clear through the audio feed. The courtroom was silent during the confession playback. Several jurors leaned forward. One woman in the back row pressed her hand to her mouth. Then came Chase's text message, displayed in large print. The Tahoe property will be liquid within 30 days. The old man will not be a problem much longer. Victor Leland tried to argue the text was vague business communication. That old man could refer to anyone. That liquid was financial jargon, unrelated to the property. Judge Okafor allowed the jury to draw their own conclusions. Their faces told me they already had. I took the stand on the third day. Prosecutor Huang led me through the timeline gently. The accident, the hospital, the discoveries, the cameras, the trap. I answered each question simply, directly. No embellishment. The facts were enough. Cross-examination came from Megan's public defender, a young woman named Sarah Okonkwo, who clearly did not enjoy her assignment. Mr. Donovan, is it possible that your daughter genuinely believed you needed medical supervision after the accident? No. She knew I was fine. She visited once for 45 minutes and spent most of it filming content for social media. Is it possible she filed for conservatorship out of genuine concern? She filed it to gain legal control of my property so she could sell it without my consent. Then the question I knew was coming. The one I had prepared for and still was not ready to answer. Mr. Donovan, do you still love your daughter? The courtroom went quiet. I looked at Megan. She was staring at the table in front of her. Would not meet my eyes. Had not met my eyes once in 3 days. I love the girl she was, I said. I do not recognize the woman she became. And that is the hardest part. Losing someone who is still alive. A juror in the front row wiped her eyes. Megan's shoulders shook once. Then were still. Chase did not testify. Victor Leland invoked the Fifth Amendment. The jury noted it. They always do. Closing arguments were brief. Huang summarized the evidence in 40 minutes. Overwhelming. Irrefutable. 32 cameras do not lie. Text messages do not lie. Forensic experts do not lie. Bank records do not lie. Leland argued reasonable doubt. The boat was old. The text was ambiguous. The cameras might have been tampered with. His arguments sounded like what they were. Desperation. The jury deliberated 3 hours and 14 minutes. Guilty. Every count. Both defendants. Megan collapsed in her seat. A sound escaped her that I will not describe. Chase sat motionless, his face empty, as if the verdict was a weather report for a city he had never visited. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Okafor addressed them directly. The exploitation of a parent by a child represents a profound violation of the most fundamental trust our society recognizes. These crimes were not impulsive. They were calculated, sustained, and escalating. The court has no choice but to respond accordingly. Megan Donovan Pratt. 18 years in state prison, eligible for parole after 12. Ordered to pay $147,000 in restitution. Chase Pratt. 25 years. Eligible for parole after 17. Attempted murder. Conspiracy. Fraud. The full weight of everything he had done, measured in years behind bars. As they led Chase from the courtroom, he turned, looked at me one final time. His eyes held nothing. No rage. No regret. No recognition that I was a person he had tried to kill. Just emptiness. The blank gaze of a man who had calculated my death the way he calculated investment returns. Numbers on a screen. Nothing personal. Megan did not look back. I sat in the courtroom after they were gone. Bobby beside me. Curtis. Pete. The gallery emptying. The room growing quiet. Bobby put his hand on my shoulder. It is done, Frank. I nodded. It was done. Justice had been served. The system had worked. The evidence had spoken. The jury had listened, but as I sat there in that empty courtroom, I did not feel victory. I did not feel satisfaction. I did not feel closure. I felt like a man who had just watched his family end. And no verdict, no sentence, no number of years behind bars could undo that. They say justice brings closure. They are wrong. Closure is not a verdict read by a judge in a wood-paneled room. It is not handcuffs or prison sentences or the sound of a gavel falling. Closure is something you build, board by board, day by day. The same way you build a house or a life or the courage to keep waking up in the morning. The first thing I did was change the locks. Every single one. Front door, back door, workshop, mudroom, even the basement egress window got a new deadbolt. The locksmith, a quiet man named Gerald, who had done work for me before, did not ask why. He just worked. When he finished, he handed me 6 keys. No copies existed anywhere else in the world. The second thing I did was repaint the workshop. Bobby helped. We spent 3 days clearing out the old shelves, sanding the walls, laying down fresh primer, and 2 coats of warm gray paint. The safe went into storage. I did not want to look at it anymore. Did not want to remember Chase crouching before it in night vision green, opening it to find a note instead of money. The workshop became something new. I built fresh workbenches from Douglas fir, hung new pegboard, organized tools by function. The space that had been a crime scene became a classroom, building something better. That is what I called it. A free woodworking program for young people with nowhere else to go. Curtis knew a social worker in Reno who connected me with teenagers aging out of foster care, kids with no family, no skills, no one telling them they were worth investing in. 12 students showed up the first Saturday in April. Nervous, quiet. Most of them had never held a hand plane or measured a board. I taught them. The way Carol taught me patience was not passive. It was the most active form of love. We built birdhouses first. Simple joints, basic measurements, the satisfaction of creating something functional from raw materials. Then, cutting boards. Then, small shelves. By May, 2 of the students were staying late, asking questions, wanting to learn more. One of them, a 17-year-old named Marcus, reminded me of myself at that age. Quiet, focused. Hands that wanted to build rather than destroy. Bobby came every Saturday morning too. Not to build. To make coffee and tell terrible jokes that made the students groan and laugh despite themselves. Curtis stopped by when he could, sharing stories from his law enforcement days that somehow always ended with a lesson about choices and consequences. On Saturday mornings, the lakehouse felt alive again. Sawdust in the air. Voices bouncing off the walls. The smell of fresh-cut wood mixing with coffee. It was not the same life Carol and I had built there. But it was life. And that mattered. The letter arrived in June. Plain white envelope. Prison postmark. Nevada Women's Correctional Center. Megan's handwriting. That same looping script I had seen on birthday cards and Christmas gifts for 33 years. I held it for a long time before opening it. Sat on the deck with the lake spread out before me, blue and calm. Bobby had offered to be there when I read it. I told him no. This was something I needed to face alone. Dear Dad, I do not know if you will read this. I would not blame you if you threw it away. But I need to try. She wrote that she was sorry. That she thought about what she did every day. That the woman who helped Chase plan those things was not who she really was. She blamed fear. Blamed debt. Blamed Donovan's influence. She said she should have come to me. Should have asked for help. Should have done anything other than what she did. She wrote about Carol. How she missed her. How she wondered what her mother would think if she could see her now. How prison gave her nothing but time to sit with what she had become. She ended with this. I am not asking for forgiveness. I do not deserve it. I just need you to know that I am sorry, that the girl you raised is still in here somewhere, and that I love you, even though I have destroyed every right to say that. I read it once, folded it carefully, did not read it again. I did not reply. Not out of anger, not out of punishment. There was simply nothing left to say. No words that would undo what had happened. No letter that could rebuild what she had burned. She had made her choices. 18 years was her consequence. My consequence was learning to live without the daughter I once had. I put the letter in a box in the bedroom closet. The same box that held photographs of Megan as a child. Pigtails, and missing teeth, and gap-toothed grins. The girl before the woman. I kept both versions in the same container because both were real. Both existed. Neither canceled the other. In July, I drove to Mountain View Cemetery outside Reno. I had not been there since Carol's funeral almost 3 years ago. Too painful. Too final. But I was ready now. I brought purple tulips. Her favorite. Laid them against the granite headstone. Sat on the grass beside her. "Hi, Carol. I am sorry it took so long." I told her everything. The boat. The hospital. The cameras. The trial. I told her about Megan. About the letter. About not writing back. I told her about the workshop. About Marcus. About Bobby and Curtis. About changing the locks and repainting the walls and learning to live in our house without her and now without our daughter. "I think you would be proud of the workshop," I said. 12 kids who have nobody. Building things with their hands. Learning they can create instead of destroy. That feels like something you would have wanted. The wind moved through the cemetery. Gentle. Warm with early summer. I do not know if I will ever forgive her, Carol. Maybe I will. Maybe I will not. But I am okay. I am not drowning anymore. I am building again. That is enough for now. I drove home as the sun was setting. Parked by the dock. Our dock. The one where we used to fish every Sunday morning before church. I sat on the edge with my feet hanging over the water and watched the sky turn orange, then purple, then dark. Spring had come to Lake Tahoe the way it always does. Sudden and forgiving. I stood on the deck the next morning. The deck I rebuilt. Watching the light turn the water to gold. I poured 2 cups of coffee out of habit. Looked at the second cup and smiled at myself. Old habits. But maybe that was okay. Maybe remembering was not the same as drowning. Maybe it was just love, refusing to let go. If you had asked me 2 years ago what family meant, I would have said blood. I would have said the people who share your last name, your history, your DNA. I would have told you that family is permanent, unbreakable, sacred. I was wrong. Family is not a birthright. It is a choice. It is showing up at 5:30 in the morning when someone calls and says I need help. It is sitting beside someone in the dark without needing to fill the silence with words. It is believing someone when the rest of the world has decided they are crazy. The people who saved me do not share my blood. They share something rarer. Loyalty that was tested and held. Trust that was earned through consistency, not obligation. Love that was chosen, not inherited. And that kind of family, the kind you build rather than the kind you are born into, is stronger than anything written in a birth certificate. I used to believe that loving someone meant trusting them completely. Without question. Without verification. I believed that skepticism toward family was a failure of love. That if you truly cared about someone, you would never suspect them of harm. That belief nearly killed me. Now I know differently. Trust is not a gift you hand someone and hope they honor. Trust is a structure you build together, board by board, verified at every joint. Trust, but verify. Those 3 words could save a life. They almost did not save mine because I learned them too late. Here is what I know now. What 1 year of betrayal and survival and rebuilding has taught me. Money reveals character faster than anything else in this world. When there is nothing to gain, everyone is kind. Everyone is loyal. Everyone loves you, but introduce wealth, introduce inheritance, introduce the possibility of taking rather than earning, and you will see who people truly are. Guard your financial information the way you guard your life, because sometimes they are the same thing. I asked God why this happened. Standing in a cemetery beside my wife's headstone, I asked why my daughter, my treasure, became my nightmare. I do not have all the answers. Maybe I never will, but I believe God does not promise us lives without pain. He promises us the strength to endure it. And looking back, I can trace His hand through every moment I survived. The stranger who pulled me from the lake, the nurse who told me the truth, the friend who called at exactly the right moment, the detective who fought for justice. None of that was coincidence. I believe that was grace. Forgiveness is not a switch you flip. It is not a decision you make once and hold forever. It is a daily practice. Some mornings, I wake up and I feel peace. I think about my daughter and I wish her healing. Other mornings I wake up and the anger is fresh as the day I found that video. Both are real. Both are acceptable. Forgiveness is not saying, "What happened was okay." It is not opening your door to someone who tried to destroy you. It is releasing the poison so it does not consume you from the inside. Some days I manage it. Some days I do not. And I have learned to be gentle with myself on the days I cannot. People ask me about revenge. They expect me to say I wanted her to suffer, that watching the gavel fall gave me satisfaction, that seeing handcuffs on my daughter's wrists brought me joy. It did not. But here is what I have learned about what some people call dad revenge. Real revenge is not destruction. It is not matching someone's cruelty with your own. Real revenge is building a life so full and so good that the person who tried to take it from you realizes exactly what they lost. It is waking up in a home you built with your own hands. It is teaching young people to create something with theirs. It is drinking coffee on a deck, overlooking a lake that tried to kill you, and finding beauty in it anyway. That is revenge. That is victory. Not because they suffer, but because you do not. God gave me a second chance on that lake. He let me survive fire and water and the worst betrayal a father can face. And I believe He did not save me so I could spend whatever years I have left in bitterness. He saved me so I could build something, so I could teach, so I could show that even at 67, even after losing everything you thought mattered, life still holds mornings worth waking up for. Set boundaries. Protect what is yours. Verify the intentions of everyone who has access to your life, your home, your finances, even family, especially family, because love without boundaries is not love. It is vulnerability, and vulnerability without wisdom is an invitation for those who would exploit it. It is never too late to start over. I started at 67 with burns on my back and a cast on my arm and a daughter in handcuffs. I started with nothing but a house full of ghosts and a lake full of memories. And I built something new. Something good. Something Carol would be proud of. You can too. Whatever age you are, whatever you have lost, whatever has been taken from you, you can build again. Board by board, day by day. The only requirement is that you decide to begin. God walks with us on the hard roads. Not ahead of us, not behind us, but beside us. And the road I walked this past year was the hardest of my life. But I was never truly alone. Not once. If this story reached you, if you saw yourself or someone you love in any part of what I shared, I need you to do something for me. Leave a comment below. Tell me what this meant to you. Tell me if you have faced betrayal from someone you trusted. Tell me how you survived it. Your story matters too. If you found value here, hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. A parent, a friend, a neighbor who might be in danger and does not realize it yet. And subscribe to this channel so you do not miss what comes next. Your support keeps these stories alive. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. I know this was not easy to hear. But sometimes the hardest stories are the ones we need most. They remind us to be vigilant, to be wise, to protect what we have built, and to keep building, no matter what. One last thing. I stood on my deck this morning before recording this. The sun was rising over Lake Tahoe, gold light spreading across the water, the mountains catching fire along their ridgelines. The same view Carol and I fell in love with 34 years ago. The sun rises over that lake every single morning, without fail, without exception. No matter what happened the night before, no matter what darkness came, no matter what was lost. And if you are still breathing, if you are still standing, if you are still here after whatever storm tried to take you down, then your story is not over. Mine was not. Yours is not, either. Build something. Start today. And remember, the sun always rises. Always.